Good morning, everyone. That'll wake you up there. Hi, I'm Karen Ratterman. I'm Associate Director of Content Marketing for Informa Markets. Welcome to Supply Side. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're glad that you decided to start your supply side journey here at the supply side stage. So we have some great presentations lined up for you. This first one, well, first of all, you may notice that there is a QR code up on the screen there if you want to scan that. Better? If you want to scan that, you can take a brief survey, so please feel free to do that. So this morning we're going to be talking about the world within, and by that I mean the microbiome. Is there a little feedback there? Well, anyway. The microbiome, or gut health, and we know that a lot of consumers are looking for solutions that help support a healthy gut, but they also want them to be clinically proven and naturally cultivated. So that's a tall order. So this morning we have two experts from Givaudan to talk about that. They're going to provide the scientific perspective on prebiotics and leveraging a next generation of postbiotics, as well as provide insights into consumer health and wellness perspectives and how to communicate messages about these products to these consumers. So our speakers are Kim Duncan, Head of Consumer Understanding for Givaudan, and first up is Sagarika Banerjee, a category tech leader for microbiome and taste and well-being. So, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I will be talking briefly about how to explore the potential to support health benefits with probiotics. You can hear me? And in order to understand that, it's very important to understand what is microbiome. Microbiome comprises of a community of trillions of microorganisms living in an environment. And the microbiome in and on us comprises the human microbiome. The majority of the microorganisms are seen to reside in the small and the large intestine. That comprises the gut microbiome. Gut microbiome, per se microbiome, is highly complex. It comprises majorly of bacteria, but also certain other microorganisms. And in a healthy body, both beneficial microorganisms as well as some potential pathogenic ones coexist peacefully without any problems. The problem arises when there is a disbalance, when the composition of the good microbiome structure is compromised. Thus, having a good gut microbiome is essential, as it has been shown to play many roles in smooth functioning of our body, and has been often referred loosely as a supporting organ essential for health. It is highly individualized. What we mean by that is gut microbiome. There is distinct gut microbiome, and it varies between individuals as it gets affected by lifestyle, by environmental factors, as well as dietary intake that we take. Thus, what we eat affects our gut microbiome structure, composition, and function. And the gut microbiome function is often related to health. And research continues to shed light on this aspect. For example, researchers in Stanford University, they found that a 10-week diet of high fermented food modulated the gut microbiome diversity, and that improved the immune responses. Other studies, as microbiome researchers at APC Microbiome, showed that eating more fermented food fibers daily for 4 weeks had significant effect on lowering perceived level of stress. Thus, it is very important to understand these ingredients that can modulate gut microbiome and its function. And thus comes the world of biotics. I will be briefly talking about the 4 major biotics here: the probiotics, prebiotics, synbiotics, and postbiotics that are known to modulate gut microbiome. What are probiotics? So probiotics are live beneficial microorganisms. Not necessarily they are the same strain as our intrinsic gut microbiome, but definitely they are live beneficial microorganisms intended to modulate the gut microbiome and confer benefit to the host. Prebiotics, on the other hand, are the food for the live beneficial microorganisms. food for the probiotic strains as well as for food for our intrinsic gut microbiome. Thus, these beneficial microorganisms, after they take up the food, will grow, colonize, and produce metabolites, vitamins, some short-chain fatty acids. And these are the effector molecules that bring effector function in terms of different health benefits to the host. Synbiotic, on the other hand, there is a pointer here. Okay. Synbiotic, on the other hand, are a combination of prebiotic, probiotics together. Rationally designed synbiotic would help in augmenting the effector function of the probiotics because it will give the specific food the probiotic requires to grow and colonize. And also, since prebiotics are food for the intrinsic gut microbiome, in the synbiotic, they will also help in maintaining the individual's intrinsic gut microbiome. The fourth one, postbiotic, it is the waste product of the microorganisms. Means it comprises of the dead bacteria, bacterial cell wall, with or without the metabolites. But these are the ready-to-act. These are in the ready-to-act format. These are the effector molecules that brings health benefit to the host. So among these four biotics, Geworden champions prebiotics. Why? So prebiotics being the food for beneficial microorganisms, it will help to support the existing microorganisms that's specific to each individual because individual microbiome does vary. And also a consumer taking variety of prebiotic that the consumer is getting from different food intake or through supplementation, the chances are that the consumer is eating the food of the struggling out of balance bacteria in that person's gut. And so the chances are higher that the gut microbiome, that particular struggling gut strain will bounce back to normalcy as compared to taking a probiotic strain for which that individual's gut microbiome should be profiled to understand which strain the person is lacking, which strain should be supplemented. Secondly, the prebiotics can be reached farther in the gut. What we mean by that is prebiotics are hard to be broken down by the bacteria residing in the upper gut or small intestine. And so they are pushed to the lower gut where majority of the good microbiome resides. They are the most beneficial ones. And those, they have the enzymes to break down those prebiotics and produces distinct set of short-chain fatty acids that are, some of them are master regulators that act acutely as well as goes through circulation and reaches other organs and cause huge health benefit to the host. Apart from that, prebiotic, as I mentioned before, acts in synergism. It can augment probiotic effector function in a symbiotic format. It can also produce certain postbiotics by fermentation, and that can confer greater health benefits. And based on gastrointestinal tolerance, stability, prebiotics precedes over probiotics as well as some postbiotics. So naturality being in the DNA of Geworden, we support naturally sourced, we champion naturally sourced prebiotics that would meet the growing consumer need, both for good for me as well as good for the planet. So apart from it being a clean label option, apart from we are able to work with sustainable crops, we can leverage side stream material so that nothing gets wasted, it has the power of the plant. And what we mean by power of the plant is these natural prebiotics are mixtures of different kind of prebiotics, be it dietary fibers, polyphenols, certain micro and macronutrients. Thus, it has the potential, these natural prebiotics have the potential to act synergistically and bring broader health benefit to us. And this is what I mean by the power of the plant. So a consumer taking a natural prebiotic, as I mentioned, will be taking a variety of prebiotics and polyphenols and micro and macronutrients. The micronutrients and macronutrients can be absorbed and goes to the circulation, does what it does, and the prebiotic, the different prebiotic, as it enters the small intestine, only a small percentage of this prebiotic would be digested by lactic acid producing bacteria in the distal small intestine, producing lactic acid and some short-chain fatty acid. Again, that will be a different effector function of lactic acid, which will help in maintaining the gut barrier integrity, evading pathogenic bacteria. But the majority of the prebiotic, which will be again a mix of prebiotics, probably giving example dietary fiber and polyphenol, which are more complex, will be pushed to the lower gut, where the majority of the beneficial microorganisms reside. And this spatial arrangement of the microbiome is based on the pH and oxygen content of the organs. So this anaerobic bacteria that are present in this large intestinal area will cross-feed, and the different prebiotics, it can produce distinct set of, dietary fiber can produce a distinct set of short-chain fatty acid, polyphenol can produce another distinct set of short-chain fatty acids, and these can bring effector functions both acutely, goes through different signaling pathways, goes through gut-brain axis, affecting cognition, goes through the immunity axis, and it can bring different kind of health benefit and also reach different organs to have multiple host health benefit areas it can reach. Thus, what's next for microbiome? Based on research, is to create the next generation of ingredients, and this next generation of ingredients would include the natural prebiotics, they being a mix of different kind of prebiotics and micronutrients and other nutrients, may bring synergistic targeted value to health benefit areas, to different health benefit areas. And also having symbiotics, which are additive, which can bring additive effects of both the prebiotics and probiotics together. And not to mention building postbiotic portfolio, where we can capitalize on the byproducts on the microbiome. Thus, these compounds can have both local and systemic effect. These are the effector molecule and can have huge health benefits. Thus, to summarize, these plant-based prebiotic are mixtures of different soluble fibers, soluble prebiotics, and different kind of prebiotics and nutrients, and they can definitely offer synergistic health benefit to consumers. The efficacy of the natural prebiotics can further be augmented by rationally formalizing them in symbiotic format in functional foods, and can be used to make fermented postbiotics, which are the effector molecules that bring direct health benefits. Postbiotics being superior in terms of being ready to act and for application in beverage. And based on safety, efficacy, applicability, and stability, prebiotic and postbiotics present more advantage than probiotics. And Givaudan as a company strives to keep understanding how to offer this nature's best solutions for our health benefit and how to deliver them to the customers in the cleanest and most effective ways. And with that, I would like to invite Kim on the stage to talk about the health and wellness finders.
Okay, so Sagarika talked about the sciencey side of it. I'm going to try to take it to the consumer side of it. And I'm here today to talk about a new platform that we have called Health and Wellness Finders. So just a little bit of background about how we got here. As a researcher, I hate the term everyone. It's a hot button for me. People that are at Givaudan are here know that how strong I feel about this. But we often hear, everyone wants this new beverage flavor. Everyone exercises. Everyone is concerned about their health. Oh, we saw it trending on TikTok. Everyone wants it. And we know that that is just simply not the case. Nielsen has a statistic that 80% of new products fail. And there's lots of different reasons that could be. Failure is defined a lot of different ways. But there's lots of things that go into that. And one of those things can be these generalizations. So it all started with flavor. When I started at Givaudan, we were just a flavor company. We're a lot more now. But at the time, we were just a flavor company. And we knew that there was a different way that we might be able to look at flavors and how consumers respond to them. So ourselves, along with our long-term research partner, Bell and me, created a program called Flavor Finders. And it was intended to be a complementary consumer segmentation. So our customers know who their consumers are. We just wanted to add another layer about how they might think about who their consumers are. So we saw over the years how that data changed when we looked at flavors by adding that Flavor Finder overlay. So we started thinking, would that same thing apply when we're looking in the food and beverage supplements in the wellness space? And we discovered that it did. So we partnered with Bellamy again, and we worked with them to create Health and Wellness Finders. Again, a complementary consumer segmentation. that helps our customers add a layer to understand how consumers adopt new health and wellness products. And it also really demonstrates how important it is to realize that there is no one size fits all, especially in this category. So if you're familiar with consumer research or familiar with segmentation research, there's a lot that goes into it. It takes a really long time. You need a lot of data. It's really expensive, but we decided to go ahead and embark on this journey to try to understand this in this health and wellness space. And we started with a lot of research, internal research. We did secondary research. We had internal stakeholder interviews. We ran some virtual consumer focus groups to really try to understand how people were talking about this in this space. We created a bunch of different statements. We did a quick 64 statements survey to kind of pulse check and see if there might be some things in there that we could take out. We made a few revisions, and then we ran a full study among 2,500 US adults. And the survey covered a lot of different things. That was the other thing that we were really concerned about, or we wanted to be really careful about, and why we did all that upfront stuff, because we knew it's not just about their exercise habits. We knew it's not just about their diet. There's way more things that come into factors when you're thinking about this space. So at the end of the research, or at the end of the survey, we had over 150,000 basis statements that we analyzed, and Bellamy ran their magic using a convergent cluster ensemble analysis. Don't ask me to explain it any more than it is, but it sounds really good. It's very technical. So when we got there, we were able to come up with a 7-segment solution. You see there's only 4 up here because we were able to combine a couple of them that were pretty similar. We didn't really want to work with 7 segments. So we were able to combine 2 segments into the health and wellness enthusiasts. There were 2 that were fairly similar. We were then able to create a segment that was pretty unique called the health and wellness harmonizers. The 3rd segment was health and wellness reactors. And then the final segment was health and wellness laggards. And this was 3 different segments that we were able to combine into that last one. And I have some examples here, just kind of looked at different data points and different things that we collected across them to kind of see how they're different and similar. Proactiveness, that's something we hear all the time. Understanding how consumers think about the health and wellness space, are they proactive or are they not? That could lead to a more successful product or not. You know, the enthusiasts and the harmonizers, they're very proactive. So having products that are targeted towards that will resonate with them. But if your consumer is a reactor or a laggard, they're not so much proactive. So talking about that to them probably isn't going to hit. Risk adversity. This was a huge one in flavor finders, and we saw it come out here as well. Enthusiasts, if it's new, they're trying it, they don't care. They just see something new and shiny, and they're going after it. So they don't take a lot of convincing. Health and wellness harmonizers also want to try the new stuff, but they do their research. They need more of the story. They need more of the reasons to believe. So positioning that with them is going to be different. Health and wellness reactors, they've got some risk adversity. They'll try it, but they're never going to be the first. And then you have your health and wellness laggards. They have no interest in the new stuff. And if they do finally get to that point, they're going to wait for a long time. They're going to have those other segments give it a try before they're ever even going to consider it. I think the other thing that was really interesting around these was we had some things in there about gimmicks, because we know we hear a lot of that in this space. And you can see that if new health and wellness products are created to an enthusiast and a harmonizer, they think it's fine. They don't really consider it a gimmick. The harmonizer obviously wants more proof, but they don't think it's a gimmick, where the reactors and the laggards think it's all gimmicks. So again, if you're targeting those groups, you want to make sure that you're positioning your product that it's not a gimmick and giving them reasons to really understand it is going to work. So how does this all fall out? So 4 segments. These are the breakouts of the segments. You can see there's a big yellow circle around 3 of them, and then there's one segment that's over there all to itself. And what we found out is that at the end of this research, that there's almost 50% of the population that has no interest in this space. So already straight out of the gate, there's 50% of the population that is like, I don't want it. So it doesn't matter what you do, you're never going to convince me. But there's this other 50% of the population that does want it, but they approach it from different ways. And does this mean that, if your target is a harmonizer, it's 10% of the population? I'm in research, people are like, 10%, ugh, that's terrible. But if you know that your target's a harmonizer and you create that product for 10% of the population, they're going to like it. And all it takes is just that 10% to be fully invested in your product and then you will be able to have a successful product. So to bring it to life a little bit more, and to kind of tie it back into what Sagarika was talking about, we recently ran a survey, and it was all around the microbiome, prebiotics, probiotics, digestion, gut health, oat fiber, lots of stuff in this research project. But I pulled out a couple of pieces of data here just to kind of illustrate how the I knew I was going to call it flavor finders, the health and wellness finders overlay changes the data. So one of the questions that we asked was about microbiome. And we shared a definition with consumers, had them read the definition, asked them at the end, which statement do you most agree with? And overall, it was evenly split. 50% said they knew what it was before reading the definition, 50% said they knew what it was after or they didn't know what it was until they read the definition. But when you add the health and wellness finders overlay to it, you can see that changes. So assuming it's 50-50 can really be misleading. You can see that health and wellness enthusiasts and reactors, they are evenly split. But a harmonizer overwhelmingly knew what it was. So really talking up the microbiome part, if your target is a harmonizer, can really be beneficial to you. Where like those health and wellness laggards over there, again, we don't really want to focus them, but this just kind of emphasizes why. They don't know what it is, so it's really not going to resonate with them. The other thing we did in this research was we tested several products that are currently on the market. We did different categories. I focused here today on beverages. And we tested 5 different beverages, and the first question we asked them was purchase intent. How likely would you be to buy these beverages? And when you looked at the overall data, it was about 46 to 56% across 5 beverages. Which one do they like? You can't really tell which one might be the one that people are going to go after. But when you overlaid the health and wellness finders, you started to see another story. For the health and wellness enthusiasts and the reactors, their top 2 box purchase intent scores really jumped up. You saw products that had 65% or higher top 2 box scores. So that was really telling because they found them more interesting. For the health and wellness harmonizers, they were more similar to the overall, but they did have 2 products that kind of rose to the top. They were still just 55% top 2 box PI, but they were definitely better than the other 3 that we tested. So you could kind of see, okay, these 2 would resonate more with harmonizers. And then you can kind of see like Olipop, well, that was the top one for all 3 of those segments, where the ones circled in yellow were unique to just those segments. So it really told a different story with that. And again, there's our friends, the laggards. Their top 2 box PR scores were 37% or less. So overall, you think, oh, 46 to 56% likes it, but not those laggards. They're even lower. So they really are not interested in this space. So just some final thoughts, this kind of tongue-in-cheek, but this is what keeps us up at night. I mean, I still sleep, but I think about it a lot. We think, we see trends and we think we know consumers, but, relying solely on our gut and intuition and following these trends, it's a great starting point, and I'm not discounting that because there's so much information out there that already exists, but it's the beginning of the story, and it's often just one data point. There's a lot more to the story, and having this health and wellness finders is just one way to try to look at it a different way.
Okay, we have a few minutes for some questions. So I'd like to open it up to the floor here.
Hi. I really like the breakout of your groups. Did you find any metrics on loyalty of consumers within those? Like, I'm guessing the reactors might buy something once or twice and then never buy it again, versus maybe the enthusiast or harmonizers, if they really like a product, will buy it for decades.
Yeah. We don't do a lot because we don't have brands and products per se, so we don't get a lot into specifics in the categories. You do see where followers may try something, and if it doesn't deliver, then they kind of like go away for a while, where like a harmonizer and a enthusiast would be like, oh, that didn't work, but that's okay, I'll go to something else. But if it does work, yeah, they're going to stay with it, and they're going to continue to incorporate it, and they're the ones that are going to talk about it. And then maybe those reactors and maybe even some of the laggards may start to come into that space.
Are you thinking of having personalized products for each of those 4 segments?
That's kind of what we were looking at when we started this project, was kind of how would you create products for each of those segments. Obviously, they can't be super, to each individual, right? But we know that how we need to position one for each of those segments is going to be different. So from a personalization perspective, yes. If we're working with our customers and they tell us that harmonizers are their target, then that's what we're going to work on with them to help co-create and build a product or an experience for consumers that would really focus just on that kind of cohort.
Just to follow up, do you expect to see individual personalized products in the future? In other words, formulated for individuals?
That's outside of my pay grade. I'm not sure. I know that that's probably, what we think everybody wants. And to a certain element, we see the same thing in food and beverage, right? Everybody wants it to be customized into their individual thing. So I think this is a great starting point in that we can at least kind of get them into these smaller buckets to kind of focus on these personalizations. And then maybe kind of down the road, there might be some opportunities to maybe take it even further. Enthusiasts might be able to break out a little bit more and maybe we can personalize a little bit more. Down to the individual, I don't know, but that's kind of how we maybe see it working.
Okay.
My question was for the fun microbiome discussion.
Sagarika. That is all her.
So when you look at bringing that merger of the pre and probiotics to get that symbiotic relationship, what do you see the barriers to maintain that functionality in the gut?
Sorry, what do you?
The barriers to maintaining that functionality in the gut.
Yes. So what I meant is rational designing of the symbiotic. So probiotic will have its effector function, but we know its pitfalls, right? So if we have a specific prebiotic to go with it, it can help in maintaining the probiotic to survive. It can help in localization. I think that's very important to actually grow and stay there. So that is important. And once it can do that, it will augment the probiotic effector function of even enhancing the gut barrier function. It will help in production of mucin that can help in preventing the gut to get damaged. So all these can be augmented with a specific food for that probiotic. That's a rationalization of a rational designing symbiotic.
We have one over here.
Can you just tell who you are?
My name is Marcus Rice. I work for a cyber dipping company.
Yeah. Hi, another question. So you use the terms natural prebiotics and also plant-based prebiotics. That's the first I've heard of that reference. Is that becoming important? Is that in terms of the branding, the marketing of it? Is that talk a little bit about that in the future?
Sure, marketing part I can talk later probably, but yes, natural prebiotics, specifically plant-based prebiotics, is becoming more and more important as it will not be just one prebiotic fiber that we are producing. It will have a mixture of prebiotics and other ingredients in it. And as I was saying, it will be digested differently, it will be producing different kinds of metabolites and effector molecules. So based on literature, based on our understanding, we really think all natural prebiotic will bring synergistic effect to different health benefits as compared to using one prebiotic or producing one prebiotic and synthetic prebiotics.
So blending different prebiotics together,
yeah.
Not just one.
It is a blend of prebiotics as we are extracting from the plant. It's not just, for example, arabinoxylon we are extracting. We can extract something else, some kind of polyphenols along with it, some other micro and macronutrients along with it. So it will be a holistic approach for the gut.
Oh, Karen, hang on, just real quick. So the survey we had you take at the beginning was the Health and Wellness Finder survey. So if you did take that, we'll be in contact with what segment you fall into. Our booth is also right across from the stage. So if you want to come over and talk about health and wellness finders or microbiome, we'll be over there. So otherwise, thanks.
Okay, and I just want to say thank you to our sponsor, Givaudan, and our speakers, Kim Duncan and Sagarika Banerjee, for a very informative session.
Thank you.
We'll reconvene in about 15 minutes.